Hello everyone, this is Ollie and welcome back to What If Goku Landed on Mobius. Last time we went through the events of Sonic CD, where Goku went down to the wire with the Doctor's most powerful creation yet, a double of himself, Metal Goku, and made a new ally on Little Planet, ultimately saving it from the clutches of Ivo Robotnik in past, present, and future. Now he'd head forward on his biplane once again, chasing the Doctor to his next fight against the Eggman Empire. Goku flew over the ocean in his newly refueled plane, heading in the same direction as the Eggmobile. Being an advanced piece of machinery, it easily outpaced the biplane, the gap growing larger and larger until Goku was flying blind, chasing only the contrails of the machine left behind, eventually the trail dissipating over a large island. Goku would study the island for a moment before his stomach would rumble violently, quickly making up his mind to land. He'd steer downwards and touch down on the beach of the island's coast. Jumping out of the biplane and making his way off the shore, he'd find a path and follow it, quickly running into a small village before he could reach a forest and hunt for something to eat himself. Although eating something prepared did sound nice, and he was already in a village, Goku quickly changing his mind and looking for a restaurant to eat at. Some of the villagers going about their lives would stare at him with some pretty obvious mistrust, but Goku would be pretty used to this, having grown up on an animal island. The monkey boy eventually getting cornered by a group of locals asking why he was there. Goku would simply explain who he was and who he was looking for. The moods of the locals almost immediately brightening when they realized Goku was the hero from South Island. Goku would be a little bewildered at how quickly the islanders' tunes changed, prompting them to explain their cold reception. Apparently, a strange egg-shaped man had landed on their island some time ago. He had begun terraforming parts of Westside Island, and his machines had become a nuisance, pushing into Emerald Hill and now occasionally entering the village itself. The villagers had initially assumed Goku had been with Eggman, a part of him being another strange human. Goku would be able to put two and two together, quickly realizing Eggman really had landed on the island. He'd asked the villagers to point him towards Emerald Hill so he could investigate himself, but before they could, Goku's stomach would rumble like a beast. The boy's previous interest dropped for the moment. He'd asked for something to eat, the locals more than willing to help their new savior. They would bring him inside and watch in terror as Goku devoured a dozen courses of food. The villagers eventually forced him to cutting him off before he ate them out of house and home. Goku would be a little disappointed at having to stop, but eating in moderation was a good thing, wasn't it? Goku would hop out of his chair and thank the villagers for the meal and leave, ready to head towards Emerald Hill before he realized he had left his staff back in the biplane. Goku would run back to the shore and find a strange sight, a pair of brown foxes bullying a younger yellow kid hiding under the wing of his plane. Goku would listen in as he approached, the two jeering for the boy to stop hiding and come out and play. They just wanted to roughhouse a bit. The two foxes wouldn't notice Goku until he introduced himself, the pair yelping and whipping around. Finding a strange human boy with a monkey tail behind them, almost immediately they'd begin jeering at Goku too, asking if he thought wearing a fake tail made him look cool. Goku would shake his head no, moving his tail around to prove it was very real, ending off with holding it out to the pair, the two bullies falling into another fit of laughter, the kid peeking out from underneath the wing. "Look, Two-Tail, we found another freak just like you." "Yeah, and you want to know what we do the freaks around here?" Before Goku could ask what he meant by that, the fox punched him in the chest. He chuckled, waiting for Goku to topple over, only for the boy to giggle, saying that he thought a fly landed on him, but it was just his punch. Moving the fox's arm aside, Goku would tap him on the shin and the fox would crumple instantly, the second bully grabbing his friend and pulling him up, running away and yelling that Goku wouldn't get away with this. Tails tucked between their legs, Goku would laugh before turning around to see the yellow fox watching him with stars in his eyes. He would rub the back of his neck, a little nervous at the boy's silent admiration before breaking the tension with a simple yo, giving his name Son Goku. And in turn, the fox would nervously introduce himself as miles per hour, but everyone called him Tails. Deflating a bit at the nickname, he barely noticed Goku walking behind him and staring at his namesakes. "Hey, you really do have two tails." "Yeah, I know. It's weird." "That's awesome." Tails would sputter a bit as Goku explained he had never seen someone with an extra tail before, and in that way, they were kinda similar. Leaving Tails speechless, he'd walk away from the boy to collect his staff before he noticed his engine was open. Goku would ask Tails what had happened to his plane, and Tails would explain that he was a bit of a tinker and he had never seen such a complex machine before and just couldn't help himself. And in the middle of his studying of the machine, he had gotten jumped by the pair of bullies. Tails would apologize profusely and Goku would wave it off. Jumping into the cockpit, Goku would grab his staff and hop out. Waving goodbye to Tails, he'd run off, leaving the kid stunned. Goku was strong, fast, and confident despite having an extra tail like him. On instinct, Tails sprinted after the boy, his twin tails spinning and forming a propeller that launched them forward. Goku, perking up at the sound, would turn around and find Tails right behind and then right beside him. Surprised, he'd smile. Tails would ask to come along and Goku would agree. At that, Goku would smirk at the fox before blasting into another gear, another boy around his age being able to keep up tugging at a competitive streak. At that, Tails would also speed up. Before long, he felt himself lifting off the ground, Goku watching in shock as Tails flew overhead, the kid shouting out with joy. The two would storm into Emerald Hill and demolish the badniks in their way, turning it into a bit of a game. Tails watched as several badniks surrounded Goku, the boy using his tail failed to attack the enemies behind him, inspiring Tails to mimic the move just like he'd do in canon with the spin dash. Eventually, they'd reach the end of the zone where they would be stopped by Eggman the Doctor docking his Eggmobile in the Egg Drillster. Ivo would sneer at the Monkey Boy opposing his operations yet again, and this time he had brought some two-tailed brats. Goku would ask why the Doctor was messing with his island, and the Doctor would laugh, explaining that he had tracked the 7 Chaos Emeralds to Westside Island and he had already collected one, before flashing the light blue Chaos Emerald with a smug grin, Goku's eyes widening before he'd roar for the man to give it back now. Eggman would only cackle at getting under the boy's skin, and the Egg Drillster would roar the life, launching at the pair and starting the first battle of this adventure. This is where we hit another major difference between Sonic and Goku's characters. Long story short, Goku is not going to be dropping any superpower of teamwork lines. Goku has always had a propensity for fighting alone, be it because of his Saiyan blood or wanting to test himself as a martial artist. Even as a kid, I think Goku only has one 2v1 fight, and even then, Krillin has to leave halfway through it. This compared to Sonic, who is more than willing to accept help even when he doesn't really need it. That said, I don't think he'd tell Tails not to help. It wasn't a tournament after all, but he wouldn't be actively strategizing with the kit either, leaving Tails to adapt around Goku's pace. Goku would attack the Drillster head on with his staff, getting the bulk of Eggman's attention, while Tails would attack from the sides through the openings Goku would inadvertently create, striking with spinning tail strikes. Eggman, losing ground, would curse and try to hit Tails and Goku at the same time, drifting into donuts only for the Fox to dodge by flying into the air. Goku would leap up a moment after and be surprised when Tails grabbed him by the wrist, spinning and launching him back down like a missile at the machine. Goku would reel back and smash through the drill's base, tearing it off. Leaving the Doctor defenseless, he would panic and slam on the gas, trying to run Goku over, but Goku would brace for impact, holding his arms out and stopping the vehicle with massive effort. His feet would dig trenches into the ground, and with a massive effort, he'd yell and lift the car over his head and then launch it forward. Robotnik would bail out in his Eggmobile, narrowly avoiding going up in a fireball with the Drillster. Tails would land next to Goku and beam at the Monkey Boy, raising a fist, which Goku would cheerfully bump. After that, Tails would ask Goku why he got so riled up about the weird glowing stone in Eggman's possession, and Goku would explain the Chaos Emeralds, their significance and his connection to the light blue emerald in particular, a memento from his late uncle. Tails nodded and the two would head into the chemical plant zone, watching for warp rings while they destroyed Eggman's bases, collecting the emeralds as they went through Westside Island, the events of Sonic 2 playing out pretty similarly to canon. Eventually, the pair would reach Eggman's main base on the island Metropolis Zone. The mechanized city swarmed with badniks, crushers, and conveyor belts into molten pits, the defenses having been increased massively in comparison to his previous main bases because of his previous defeats. Goku and Tails would have some trouble getting through the base, but they would eventually reach an empty chamber. Goku would immediately be on guard, having been tricked by Eggman with rooms like this before, and sure enough, the Doctor would descend from the ceiling in the egg bouncer, cackling at how tense the boy was. Before the pair could figure out what the machine could do, it produced a dozen balloon copies of Eggman and his Eggmobile that swarmed to Goku. Tails would move to help, but would have to jump aside as a laser almost struck him from the Eggmobile. Goku, being covered by the balloons, wouldn't even know he had to dodge, being struck by another laser. The blast wouldn't do very much damage, only tearing up Goku's clothes, but what it would do was cause him to drop the 6 Chaos Emeralds that they had collected. Tails would die for the emeralds, only to be swarmed by another wave of balloons for his efforts. Goku and Tails would eventually destroy their balloons, revealing Eggman floating above them out of their reach, taunting them as he held all 7 emeralds in his hands. With the necessary gloating out of the way, he'd use the emeralds to launch the Death Egg. Goku and Tails feeling the rumbling of the great machine even from inside the building. "With the Death Egg online, my global domination is inevitable. You lose, boys." He'd laugh, bowing dramatically only to duck halfway through his showboating, Goku having thrown his staff at him. Eggman, taking the hit, would escape to his winged fortress. With the Doctor gone, Goku would retrieve his staff and complain a bit about not being able to extend it like Metal Goku could, Tails perking up at this and apologizing for failing to grab the emeralds when he had the chance, which Goku would shut down. He was the one who dropped the emeralds in the first place, and blaming themselves wouldn't do any good now. Still, looking up, Goku admitted he didn't really know what they should do next, with Eggman all the way up in the sky like that, prompting Tails to remind Goku that he owned the plane, and if they got to the beach fast enough, they might be able to board the winged fortress and stop Eggman from getting to the Death Egg, even if it was already in space. Goku, not having any better ideas, nodded, and the pair rushed back to the beach, making it in record time. Goku moved the hop into the cockpit, but before he could, Tails stopped him and meekly asked for 2 things. First was if he could see Goku's staff, which Goku immediately agreed to, handing it over. Tails with delight, the kid spending a minute working on the device before handing it back, and then asked if he could fly the plane. Tails would try to justify and explain why he was qualified to fly, even though he didn't have a license, in an avalanche of words, but Goku would just laugh, saying that he didn't really have a license either. He had only been taught by his Uncle Chuck. Tails was smart, and Goku trusted him to fly his plane. Ecstatic, Tails hopped into the cockpit, only to realize there was only 1 seat. He turned to ask Goku what they should do, only for the boy to simply jump onto the wing and flash a grin, one that Tails returned as he hit the throttle, launching the biplane into the sky. The two quickly reached the wing fortress's airspace, chasing it through the sky as flying badniks and lasers peppered them. Goku would use his staff to smash badniks that got too close and deflect shots in the ones that were out of his reach, but they would still be swarmed. Tails yelled for Goku to shot extend, Goku following immediately, yelling it, and the staff responded, shooting forward and extending dozens of feet. The newfound reach allowing Goku to effortlessly sweep away the swarm, Tails hollering in excitement, dubbing the staff the power pole. With the airspace cleared, Tails approached the fortress, getting close enough for Goku to leap onto a platform right as a stray laser hit the biplane, sending it spiraling downwards. Goku shouted for Tails to bail, but the fox would yell back that he could fix it before disappearing underneath the clouds. Goku froze for a moment, then gritted his teeth. Eggman had taken his uncle's Chaos Emerald, jacked up Uncle Chuck's plane, and now Tails might be. He cut the thought short. Tails believed in him to stop Eggman, and he had to believe in Tails. With that squared away, Goku would charge forward, tearing through the fortress until he reached the command station. Goku finding Eggman hiding behind yet another laser wall of the room ceiling and having a massive moving laser cannon, while 3 spiked platforms floated around in erratic patterns. With the newly christened Power Pole, Goku would hard counter this boss, being able to completely skip the platforming to actually reach the laser. This would still buy enough time for Robotnik to run away and enter his rockets, Goku making it outside just in time to watch Robotnik blast away. It was too late. Goku looked around desperately for a way to pursue the doctor. Nothing. He looked back up and it was already too far for a Kamehameha to hit with any real force. Goku would start to panic before he heard the roar of an engine, looking down in shock to see Tails flying through the cloud layer in a repaired biplane now equipped with a jet engine. Without a word, Goku grinned and jumped onto the plane's wing, Tails pushing the throttle to its absolute limit, getting Goku close enough to leap onto the shuttle, flashing a peace sign down at Tails. As he flew into the great beyond, Goku would hold his breath and nestle into a crevice in the rocket as it breached the atmosphere, holding his breath until it reached and docked into the Death Egg, the airlock hissing closed and allowing the Monkey Boy to breathe once again with a gasp. This catching Eggman's attention as he exited his cockpit, turning around to find Goku laid out on his floor. He'd turn and sprint away deeper into the battle station. Goku would eventually get up with a cough and follow Robotnik deeper into the Death Egg, the man leading him into another chamber. Goku, already expecting a new machine, would stay on guard, perking up at the whine of a laser and dodge to the side as the trio of purple energy blasts landed where he once stood. He stared at the smoking burn marks as Eggman's voice crackled over the PA. I wasn't expecting to have to use him so soon, but still, I'd like to introduce you to Silver Goku. Goku looked up and saw another version of himself fall from the ceiling and smash into the ground, a small crater forming around the machine. It slowly stood to its full height, towering over Goku and the boy Gulp. Silver or Mecha Goku was incredibly similar to Goku in appearance, apart from being far larger and having a single sharp piercing red eye. Its hair was a mess of wavy metallic blades that resembled devil horns, and its body was covered nearly head to toe in heavy metal plates that resembled armor, and in between those plates were rocket boosters that compensate for the extra weight. Silver raised its fist as if it were going to strike Goku, staring at it confused. Why had it done so from so far away? Before Goku could question it, the machine blasted forward at incredible speed, catching the boy off guard and slamming the hardest punch he had ever known into his face. The force sent Goku ragdolling across the room, crashing into the far wall, and before he could even hit the ground, Silver Goku surged forward, once again slamming a knee into Goku's chest. Eggman cackled over the PA as Silver lifted its arms into a hammer fist and smashed it down onto the back of Goku's head, flooring him and slowly raising its palms, planning to vaporize him. Goku bounded away and watched as it blasted the floor even though he had already moved. Then he smirked. Goku quickly realized the machine's flaws that traded agility for incredible power and speed. Its actual attacks were extremely fast and it hit far harder than Metal Goku or even real Goku for that matter, yes, but its attacks were heavily telegraphed and it was forced into fully committing to each one because of its weight, allowing Goku to easily sidestep its blows as long as he stayed on guard. With that knowledge, Goku would bail out attacks and counter whenever it had to turn around, damage quickly building up until it could barely respond. Silver rushed to Goku once again, but the boy slipped past the machine's blow and slammed a fist into its chest, caving it in and launching it into the far wall, and then finishing it off with a Kamehameha, blowing Silver to pieces. With Silver finished, Goku sighed in relief before catching his breath, perking up just in time to notice Eggman sprinting down the hall, Goku chasing after the man, but the doctor was surprisingly fast and already had a pretty large lead. Reaching his destination before Goku could catch him, another large chamber, and diving into a hatch with his face painted on it. Goku stared at the hatch for a moment before calling the man a coward, moving the blast it open with a Kamehameha, only to stop halfway through, the energy in his hands dimming as Goku watched in shock. Steam hissed out what wasn't a hatch to hide in, but a machine that rose higher and higher out of the floor, revealing the Death Egg robot, the Doomsday machine towering over Goku. I thought I was the coward boy. Don't tell me you've lost your nerve. At the provocation, the blue energy in Goku's palm surged before he fired a full-power Kamehameha right into the machine's chest. Blue light and smoke would engulf Goku's vision, and he let out a small chuckle, thinking he had won, only to hear a thunderous step. Goku's smirk vanishing as the smoke dissipated, revealing only a shallow dent in the machine's armor. Eggman laughed at the look on Goku's face. One of the Death Egg's fists fired out of the boy, the machine still incredibly fast for its size. Goku barely dodged by shooting himself into the air, only for the second fist to smash him down into a crater. Slowly, Goku pulled himself out of the crater, wielding the power pole, and attacked. He used his small size and superior agility to harass the machine, but with no way to meaningfully damage it. The best he could do was stall until he began to tire, his body going heavy as more bruises piled up from barely dodged attack. A spike fist nearly skewered Goku, blocking with the power ball. It saved him by inches, the impact launching him across the room and smashing him into the back wall, dropping the staff. Slowly, Goku stood up once again on wobbly legs and cupped his hands, once more chanting Kamehameha, concentrating as much power as possible between his hands before charging forward. Jumping into the air out of the way of a stomp, eye level with the machine and Eggman in the cockpit, he was helpless in the air, to Eggman's delight, as the machine moved to skewer him with a fist and to end this game of theirs once and for all, only for Goku to copy a move from Tails. Goku using his monkey tail as a propeller to launch himself forward in the air and dodge Eggman's strike, landing on the face of the machine and firing a max power Kamehameha point blank into the face of the machine, getting caught up in his own blast and destroying most of his top, sending him flying back into the ground. Laid out and reeling, Goku laughed a bit, thinking the fight was over. The robot knocked off his feet before it slowly began to move. Once again, the machine got up, part of Eggman's smug grin blown off, but the robot was still very operational. It slowly stomped up to Goku, Eggman using the robot's claws like a cane, lifting Goku up by the tail. Completely helpless, the boy hung limp, all the energy leaving his body as soon as his tail was gripped. Robotnik cackled at how simple it was to beat the boy, wishing he had realized his weakness sooner before turning the machine, showing him the Earth. Gloating, he told Goku to stare upon his planet for the final time before he got rid of him for good. Goku stared down at the Earth, moments from his previous adventures and the people he had known passing through his mind, as everything in his mind and his sight slowly went blank, lost in a sea of red. His muscles swelled and fur burst from his skin as he roared, transforming into a great ape, the transformation ripping him free from the robot's grip. Robotnik panicked as the great ape slowly turned to him, letting out a bellow that shook the entire Death Egg. What is this? Boy, answer me! Robotnik shouted, looking down at his scanners as they went wild, Goku's power exploding tenfold. The great ape answered with a roar and a mouth beam blasting through the robot's chest like it was tissue paper, the beam cutting through the Death Egg's interior. The station shook violently as Ape Ku rampaged mindlessly, and Eggman taking his leave and escaping however he did in canon. The Death Egg starting to self-destruct and fall out of orbit while Ape Ku beat his chest and roared. Eventually, the glass overlooking the Earth shattered and the great ape was sucked out into space, instinctively holding its breath as the Death Egg plummeted beside it. Without blast waves from the Earth, the transformative faded and he slowly reverted back to normal. Goku would slowly wake up from the sound of the roaring wind in his ears to find himself falling alongside the wreckage of the Death Egg, far too damaged to even attempt to save himself. Goku would gulp, accepting his fate, when he heard the roar of an engine, the monkey boy landing on the wing of his plane, Goku groaning and pulling himself up to a panicking Tails. At that, he'd simply smile and flash a peace sign. The kid would ask what had happened. He had flown up when he realized the Death Egg was falling out of orbit to try and catch Goku, and he didn't know how to describe it, but while he was flying up, he had saw some type of monster through the clouds. This would disturb Goku a bit. He'd ask Tails if he were sure, and he'd nod. Goku was only able to remember getting beaten up by the Death Egg robot and then red. He'd apologize for his lack of knowledge and lament that he couldn't get Uncle Chuck's emerald back, and apologize to Tails for losing the power pole, admitting he had gotten creamed pretty bad by Eggman, but quickly perking up, he'd promised to beat Eggman next time with no caveats for sure. At that, Tails would laugh a bit. No way Eggman would come back after losing a third time, right? And he could always make Goku a new power pole. That would improve Goku's mood a bit, the boy standing up only for Tails to yell for him to sit back down on the wing. Goku would be confused by this while Tails covered his eyes, looking away from him, while Goku scratched the back of his head, looking around until he looked down at his non-existent pants and laughed. Goku would sit back down, and at that there would be a lull in the conversation until Tails would ask Goku if the biplane had a name. Goku would shake his head, having never thought to give it one before, and telling Tails he could name it for adding the awesome new jet engine. Tails would be caught off guard by the request, and after a moment would throw out the name Nimbus. Goku immediately taking a liking to the name, slapping the wing of the biplane and christening it Nimbus as the two flew back down to Westside Island. Far away, Dr. Eggman pulled himself from the wreckage of the Death Egg. Having landed on a strange island, he'd hear heavy footsteps behind behind them and turn around to the sound of someone cracking their knuckles. But that's where we'll leave things off for right now. Before you go, I want to add this extra note about I am really sorry for how long this video took out. If it doesn't come out today at Saturday late night, it'll come out tomorrow on Sunday, like early in the morning, and that will be like officially 3 weeks. So hopefully it comes out Saturday night. So that'll like barely be my cutoff for 3 weeks. Well, it's like, yeah, sucks, but also this video is either like 19 minutes or almost 20 minutes. I'm not really sure because I had to split this video file into two different CapCuts because editing on CapCut modal when the video files get super long is very annoying. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk about, apologizing for how long this took. And the second thing I want to talk about is the Metal Gokus. As you can see from like the way I described his design, the fan art I used, and like the videos I used, obviously Silver Goku is supposed to be like turlet, which I'm going to continue to trend with the Metal Gokus. They're either going to be like based off a Goku lookalike or another Saiyan, which like you can probably guess who like Mecha Mark II is going to be based off. So if you like that or whatever, then like tell me, like, comment, subscribe, do all the normal YouTuber stuff. But besides that, I hope you have a nice day and thank you for watching all of my nonsense.